About 2 years ago, I found out that I had bipolar disorder. So today I'm gonna give you 3 practical steps on how I personally dealt with it. Before I start, I need to clarify that if you have any medical needs, make sure to seek your medical help. Make sure to see your doctor for a professional advice. Today I'm going to talk about my personal experience. So about 2 years ago, I found out that I had bipolar disorder. I had too many difficulties and I failed in about every aspect of my life. And that was overwhelming. And I didn't understand that that was the reason for my bipolar disorder that I had later on. So let's start with the first step of the 3. The first step is understanding and defining your problem. For me, it was bipolar disorder, and I understood it in one key characteristic, which was the changing in my mood. So in days I had so much energy, I was so much energetic. In other days I was so much almost sad. I didn't have any motivation to do anything. And at first I thought it just was my mindset. I go all in or I just don't do anything. But I found that was not the case. After one day that one family member noticed that, and he took notes of that, and he said that sometimes you have so much energy and sometimes you're just not motivated to do anything. And that stuck in my head. And that was the key for me to figure out that I had bipolar disorder. Because the next day I found out that I woke up sad for no reason. So that was the first step, is you understanding the problem. And as the math quote says, is that defining the problem is always half of the solution. So let's move on to the second practical step that I did. For me personally, I wrote every problem that I had at that time. I had about 7 or 9 problems, and I wrote about 7 different pages. So every problem I write it, I make sure that I write the solution with it. So in the next pages, I wrote every solution that I can think of logically to every problem. So like that, I don't let them consume me. I consume the problems. And like that, everything is clear in my brain. So that was the first. And other thing, I tried to create my to-do lists. Of course, to-do lists was a habit that I developed a few years earlier, but after on, I stopped doing my to-do lists. And when I understood that I had bipolar disorder at the time, it was the first thing that I did, is that writing my to-do lists every single day, but with a twist, which is writing with it the emotions of that day. So like that, I keep track of my emotions and I understand when I'm happy, when I'm sad, and everything. So I understand logically why my emotions are like that. And the third thing that I did is that keeping with my prayers, daily prayers, keeping up with them and everything that comes with it. That also helps, because if you don't understand and if you have never heard of bipolar disorder, it's a mental illness that one of the symptoms that gives you is that you're unable to do your daily activities. You don't have a routine. So for me, I had to develop habits. I had to develop a routine. And for me personally, I believe that this is the key to solve so much problem, especially when we're talking about psychology. Of course, for me as a nursing student, I studied psychology, and I studied that every person has a different psychological imagination and aspects, and also every stage of life has a different psychology characteristics. However, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about personal experience on how I dealt with this problem that I had. So let's move on to the third step. The third step, it was maintaining that solving that I do. So what I read, when I read that bipolar disorder is basically chronic. It does not go away, and there is so much famous people in history that had bipolar disorder as Van Gogh, and it's not very interesting, right? However, I had to maintain that solution. So what I did is that reading one book, which is absolutely have no relationship to bipolar disorder, but I think has a very key element that can help everyone on this genre, which is transurfing reality. What I learned in this book is that every life is like a line. This line is the line of the normal. So everything that goes up must go down. So for me, being bipolar, I had bipolar disorder. When it went up, I had to go down. And that cycle was so fast that I had noticed it and people took note of it. So what I was doing is basically maintaining myself on that specific line. And that was my mission for the next 6 months or so. And that was it. That was how I dealt with bipolar disorder. This is not a professional medical advice. This is only my personal experience. Probably you can take notes of a few things that I did to probably apply it for your life if it's suitable for you, if it's optimal, and also if it's advisable from your doctor if you seek medical help. So, as always, remember to heal, inspire, and teach, and see you in the next one.